Hello, boyos. Welcome to the LonerCast MCU rankings list, where we go through all of the MCU movies and put them in our own list from best to worst. This week, we're talking about Black Panther. We're almost done. We're in phase 3. We are 4 movies out. Black Panther.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, Jake? Oh, speaking of, that's Jake, by the way.
Hello,
And
I'm Jake.
Nick.
That's Nick.
Hi.
Um,
What are
yeah,
your thoughts on Black Panther?
I like Black Panther quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a pretty good movie. It's not the best MCU movie, but what I will say is I think it could have been the best MCU movie.
Mm.
There are parts of this movie, and the more I think about it, I feel like this movie was like rushed out. It like parts of it feel rushed, right? Like a lot of the CG and like fight scenes feel rushed. Like we just got to get this shit out. There are some like story beats that are great, but it almost felt like this was like a first draft. And like if they just had a little bit more time to like figure some of the details out, it could have been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But because of those issues, it does fall a bit lower on my list, which we'll get to later. But like overall, I do like this movie a lot. I think Ryan Coogler is like who directed this movie is like one of the best, upcoming directors of our time. And every time him and Michael B. Jordan work on a project together, it's absolutely amazing. I love Fruitvale Station. I love the 2 Creed movies, and Michael B. Jordan is like one of my favorite characters in this movie by far. And like him and Ryan Coogler just have like this amazing rapport together. I also feel like Ryan Coogler like is a bit out of his element doing a big MCU movie like this. And what I mean by that is like the scene, like that opening scene, which is like longer than most opening scenes in the MCU, right? The scene where it's like Michael B. Jordan's dad getting killed or whatever he's doing at the beginning.
Right, yeah.
And then it comes back to that. It's like a flashback in time, and it's Michael B. Jordan's dad or whatever. That scene is great, and I think that's like where Ryan Coogler shines, are like the more like personal, like dialogue heavy sort of stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like big action set pieces, I just don't think it's like his bag. Although I will say there are some like amazing scenes in the Creed movies where there's a lot of action, but it's not like CG action. It's like a dude boxing, which is a lot
Right.
different than this. So I think that's probably 2 reasons, and I'm really hoping with the next one, the next Black Panther movie, that now Ryan Coogler is a bit more adjusted to this and can really knock it out of the park next time. But overall, I really like the movie. What do you think?
Um, I like this movie. I have a few issues with I suppose, the world building of Wakanda as a whole. I fucking love the visuals of this movie. I love the locations that they're at. They are so awesome. Like we came off of watching Thor Ragnarok, and I've audibly turned to Jake and I'm like, dude, this looks so much better. This is such an interesting idea. You have like futuristic cyberpunk-esque Africa. And I haven't seen any place, anything in mainstream anything do anything close to this.
Yeah.
And it looks really good. It really does. It looks really good. The CG in some parts is questionable at times, especially like towards the end, the fight scene at the end, and the part where they get to fight over who gets to be king, which is another problem I have with this movie. The people, it's very like Phantom Menace, people in the crowd sort of thing, and I'm like, ooh, looks rough. It looks rough. You get these like
Yeah, for sure.
three frame people just kind of like, yay, and it's,
It's like a video game, yeah.
ooh, oh man, it looks, yeah, it's like a racing game, but you got the crowd in the back. I liked this movie. I liked Michael B. Jordan's character a lot. I feel like they could have dove deeper into his whole thing because I felt like it was more like between the three of the main characters. I forget their names are very different from American names, so I don't remember them. The T'Challa, I remember, is
Nakia
it
Okoye,
Okoye? Yeah. Um,
Wakabi.
the chick that plays the one with the spear,
Yeah,
the girl
Okoye.
that's always
Okoye. Yeah,
girl that's always in green, the love interest.
Nakia.
Um, how do you say her name? What's her name?
Nakia.
Nakia. Okay, yeah, Nakia
Just think of
Okoye,
it's like Nikki,
and
but like a little different. It's like a
right.
fun little.
Okay, and T'Challa. I feel like they focused in on that a little bit too much. I felt like Everett Ross's character, or the character Everett Ross. I don't know who plays him.
Bilbo
Um,
Baggins.
is it really?
Yeah, Martin Freeman.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, Martin Freeman's character, Everett Ross, is kind of really out of place. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest, he
Mm-hmm.
does not feel like he belongs here at all. Um, and his parts are just so strange to me. Um, but yeah, I liked the story. I liked the backstory of just this kid growing up in a hard city. His dad dies. He figures out like who kills his dad, and good lord, the king of Wakanda is not a good dude. Like
Yeah, T'Chaka.
T'Chaka, that's his name. Yeah, T'Chaka was not a good dude, like at all. He killed his own brother and didn't do anything with his nephew. Like that's his fucking nephew on the floor, like in that apartment. And now his nephew's got to come upstairs and find his dad dead.
Yeah,
Like he couldn't like even take the dad out and like bury him somewhere else, and the kid just is alone and has to go into foster care or something like that. None of that. The kid has to see his dying or his dead dad in the apartment. It's This dude is rough. I have no sympathy for this dude.
I do think that's what they were going for, though, right? Like, and especially when they talk about M'Baku, who like at the beginning of the movie, you almost see him as like, oh, he's gonna be like the villain, but then there's like the twist at the end where it's like, no, he loves Wakanda too. It's just that the king kind of, rejected him forever. And I think that's important to T'Challa as well as becoming like the definitive Black Panther, because it's like he's the best one. Like he's basically he's the Captain America of Wakanda. And
Right.
yeah, and I think that's the point in this movie, and it's also why I like Michael B. Jordan so much in this movie and Killmonger, and the themes that they're throwing out in this movie is because you get where Killmonger's coming from. You're almost like, I feel like I'm on his side through a lot of
Mhm.
this movie, except for when he's like, I want to like annex the entire world and take it over. It's maybe
Well, I
a step
mean,
too far, but
though, like he wants to, right every wrong. He wants to put people uh he wants justice for the people up on top, and it's like it's not too far off from where I kind of sit right now in this day and age. And like,
yeah.
yeah, dude, just take it over, kill all the people at the top, have
Yeah, but
give power to the people again, and like,
T'Challa's like a less radical version of that, right? Where he's like, I want to do that, but on everyone's own terms. Like, I want to help people if they want to be helped.
right, I
So
don't want to
he,
force anybody.
right, and it's a little less dictatorial. And him setting them up the outreach centers, which I feel shouldn't have been an end credit scene, right? Because that was the end credit scene, right, where they go like set up the outreach centers. Or was that the end of
Maybe,
the movie? I can't even remember.
I don't
But
remember.
yeah, that's important. But like the problem I have with this movie, much like you, like yeah, Martin Freeman feels like out of place, and of course Andy Serkis, who is famous for what, Nick? What's he famous for? Andy Serkis?
The circus that comes around in town. I don't know if I. Oh,
What?
he's Snoke. He's Snoke. He plays Snoke from Star Wars.
Wrong. He was in 13 Going on 30. Get it
Oh
right, Nick.
shit, man. I'm sorry. You're
Famous for
right.
13 Going on 30. Andy Serkis.
Does he play the love interest in that?
No, he's like a boss in that movie. He's
Oh,
like
okay.
her boss in that movie. Um, but yeah, Andy Serkis. I I liked Andy Serkis in the movie, and I like the idea that he's like working with Killmonger. I just felt like we spent too much time with him, and
Yep.
especially like towards the end, it's like they forgot what his character's supposed to be, and they're like, just be like a maniacal maniac at the end, and like it felt a little weird. Um, and I wish we spent more time developing the stuff with Killmonger and T'Challa,
hmm
because like it's a not fun, but it's like a more it's like an interesting dynamic. Like these are cousins, like these
hmm
are, and we only get like a brief moment of them like having this realization that they're cousins, and T'Challa being like, "Oh, he's right, and I should do something about that." And the one character that I think is like so underlooked, and I think could have been so much better, and it would have elevated this movie dramatically, is the character Wakabi, who is played by Daniel Kaluuya, who's an amazing actor. He was in Get Out and Judas and the Black Messiah. Amazing actor. And like him being part of Wakanda and like vibing with Killmonger's message, even having that message before, is like so interesting. But it's like we only got that for a second, and also having this moment of like, Wakabi is Okoye's like husband or
Lover.
or
Yeah.
boyfriend or whatever,
hmm
and like we barely got any of that,
Any
and
of that.
it
Yep.
would have been like really cool to see more of that, because it just sort of felt like a throwaway at the end, although I do love the moment where the rhino comes up and licks her. I
hmm
love that. But like, yeah, I wish we got more of that. And yeah, so like that's kind of the issue I have with this movie, is like if they got a little bit more time and got to do like a second draft of this movie, I think it would have been a far better movie. But I felt like they had to put in Martin Freeman or Everett Ross's character in there to connect it to the MCU, and
Right.
they had to have Andy Serkis to like set up Killmonger instead of just being like, here's Killmonger.
Right.
Um, yeah, so there's just like a lot of shit like that, and like the fight scenes are just like uninspired and not cool. Um, yeah.
Another thing the biggest problem for me is there's like two movies in this one movie, and they couldn't decide if they wanted to go like the political route for this movie, or they wanted to go like the MCU big bash kind of all out war for this movie, bad guys, good guys sort of thing. So instead, they kind of fuse the two, and you have this really broken political system within Wakanda that's just like it doesn't matter how smart you are, how nice you are, who your person is, as long as you can kill the other person who also wants to be king, you get to be king. As long as you kill that guy, you get to be king. And I'm like, there's something very wrong with how
Yeah.
technologically advanced this culture is. To have a battle for king is just beyond me, and I cannot wrap my head around that, no matter how hard I try. I feel like that is the worst part of this movie, and that should have been what the bad guy was, is just their whole political system. Like, yeah, that if somebody who is Killmonger comes into this space, it fucks everything up. And I wish it was more like an aftermath from that. Like, it starts off with T'Challa losing to Killmonger, and then Killmonger, like all the shit that he does, and then getting back to that and fixing the issue. But we didn't get that. We didn't get any of the issues that would come from that. We didn't dive into that sort of system. It was just like Killmonger's bad because he wants to send weapons everywhere. T'Challa's good because trust us. And it didn't really.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, totally. Like if they got like a second draft, they could have done something where it's like the King and the Black Panther are not like mutually exclusive. Like
Mhm.
the Black Panther, his job is to defend the King. He's like the right hand to the King.
That, yeah.
But the King can also be the Black Panther if he so chooses. So it would have like made sense that like that's why T'Challa was Black Panther and not the king earlier. But you have to decide who becomes Black Panther. Someone can challenge to become Black Panther or whatever. And then it
Mm-hmm.
could have been like, okay, Killmonger challenges T'Challa to become Black Panther. And in the process of becoming Black Panther, he killed T'Challa, which makes him the rightful heir to the throne as
Which makes
well.
him the king. Right. That would have been way more interesting, I feel like,
Yeah.
instead of just being because how I don't know if I missed something, but T'Challa was the Black Panther when his dad, T'Chaka, was the Black Panther as well. There were two Black Panthers,
Yeah, he was the king, but T'Challa was the Black Panther.
but also King
Or
T'Chaka was
or he died in Civil War and became Black Panther, and because we don't see him as Black Panther in Civil War until his dad dies.
right.
So maybe he
But like
became
immediately after. Like
right, but maybe that would
they're
have been his
they're
first
literally in
course.
the same
That
they're
maybe would have
literally
been his first course of action as Black Panther, though. You know,
but
but
in what part of this movie does it give him the right to be the Black Panther in that particular moment? Like the king dies and he's like, "Hey guys, my dad's dead. Give me the juice." And they're
well,
like, "All right,
yeah. I mean,
sure."
he's the
Like the whole
rightful heir to the throne, I guess. But
is he though with their fucking the way that they have it? It doesn't make any sense.
yeah, I mean that's how kingship works, right? Your son, but like it seems
Yeah, but
like
not here
it
because it seems like the next king is just the strongest guide to.
part of a royal family that has to be stated as well. It's like
Oh, I
of
suppose.
leaders of the tribes can fight, not just any random person.
You're right. You're right. There is that line
Yeah,
that okay. So it's so strange to me that like we
that's why
get
M'Baku can challenge him because he's like the
right.
leader of that tribe up on the mountain.
Right. Right. It's just strange to me that they're so technologically advanced and there's tribes somehow, but we don't get into the tribes at all. We don't get
Yeah,
into like their way of life, really. It's just look at this singular tribe um that owns the vibranium mines, right? And I feel like this is more of a story about like some privileged fucking kids that lose out on their home like, "Oh no,
well,
our home's getting taken
I
from
do
us
think that's the
because
point
we're
of the
so
movie.
rich."
I do
And
think
then
that's the point of the movie, though, is like they're at a point of privilege. They even say privilege in this movie several times, where it's like, you know, um, what's his name? Wakabi says when they're in the room, it's like it's easy for you to sit here in your tower privileged while there's millions of people like us out in the world, not living as easily. So I do think that's like the point of the movie, and T'Challa realizing like, oh, we haven't been doing this right. Um, and Killmonger kind of showed him that, but Killmonger was a bit more extreme, like a little too extreme. But it would have been nice if they showed him being a bit more extreme. I mean, I guess they did. They showed him like killing his girlfriend and shit.
yeah,
So
they're Killmonger's really extreme. There's a lot of death in this
he
one.
also,
Even
he killed Zuri just like no problem, which was Forrest
even the
Whitaker's character.
even the people that like you would think were friends, by the end of the movie, there's like this fight between this tribe, I guess. Like they don't explain who these people are. There's the Shatari, who are like the royal guards of the king or whatever, and then there's a tribe, but the tribe we just know it's under this. I forget his name, the
M'Baku.
Umbaku, and they just start to fight because they believe in a different king, and it's just like what is this? It didn't get any connection to anything because like their rules aren't set up at all for how you become king, and like there's a challenge and you have to kill the other person in order to become king, but then T'Challa doesn't actually end up dying, granted by means of, other people's help and the help of the fucking Black Panther berry. Um, so does that mean that he can still challenge? and there's like a lot of confusion between the people who actually like fucking are in this community, and there's it just ends up being a fight, and I feel like this community of people is just so fragile in order for them to fight over that kind of thing. It's like you have all of these fucking like train systems that nobody has. You have these jets that go invisible and can fly really fast, but you didn't think about like, well, what happens in a tie, or like, what the fuck happens in this situation? Like there's some really screwy world building things that are just left unanswered, and for me it
Yeah,
really
especially
brings down this movie a lot.
especially the ending. It should have just been like, well, let's just have them fight it out instead of like having the Chitari and the army fight each other. Like,
Mhm.
let's just have Killmonger and T'Challa fight each other instead. Again, like,
Right. Right,
since it
yeah.
wasn't decided before, and fuck it, let's just let them both be Black Panther and fight each other because we want to see that shit anyway, uh, as an
It's
audience
equal.
member.
It's equal at this
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
you
right.
know?
Um,
So that I think
but
that was the only
I do
thing.
think the point was like, and the reason that there were two sides fighting is like, if um Wakabi feels that way about you know Wakanda and like how there's other um people from Wakanda throughout the world or whatever, uh that he feels aren't treated right. I'm sure a lot of the other people in the army feel that way too. Well, the Chitari are like, we're ride or die with our boy T'Challa, you know, and so yeah, I mean, like I kind of get that, and that's why I think if we got more scenes with Wakabi, it would have made more sense. That fight on the the grassy knoll or whatever, that
Yeah.
fight scene would have made more sense if we got more stuff with Wakabi. I feel like Wakabi was so underplayed in this movie, and I feel like if he got more time to shine, we would have understood that fight, and we got to see him interacting with his army and stuff, and like
Hmm.
show like his army was already sort of becoming radicalized and stuff. Like it would have been nice to see some of that stuff.
Well, there's like a moment where they could have expanded on it. I don't know. My internet says to be it's like all over the place right now. Let me know
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
start cutting out.
You have been a little bit,
Um,
but you're all right.
okay. There's a moment where Killmonger like brings, I forget what his face is, Circus's character, to Wakabe, right? And he's like, "Who are you?" Cut to black. It's like, what? No, that would have been perfect for him to be like, I like show who he is and how why Wakabe cares about the cause that Killmonger wants. Like I feel like that could have been the connection that we were missing between him and Killmonger rather than
I
him
mean,
just
we
being
we
like,
saw a little bit of that earlier in the movie because Wakabi was saying like, you know, it's not right that we hoard this to ourselves. Which so like him and Killmonger had the same mission throughout
mhm,
the end, and by the end, T'Challa feels the same, and that's kind of the point of this movie is like there's a middle ground where they
right,
all met. So yeah,
right.
but yeah, it's a little disjointed, and it could have been. That's why I mean like this movie could have been amazing, but I feel like because of these shortfalls, it falls a little low. And there are some like amazing shots in this movie, even like the scene where you get to see M'Baku in his like throne. Like that scene is so fucking cool looking, and like the scene where Killmonger walks into the throne room and it's like upside down and it like flips upright, and it's like there's these little scenes in there where you're like, man, if they just had more time, this whole movie could have been like that and could have been
Yeah,
amazing. But to me, it feels like they were like, fuck, we got to get this out before Infinity War. That's kind
yeah.
of what it felt like to me. Like they rushed it is what it feels
It,
like, and they'll
it,
never admit that. They will never admit that, but it feels like that's what happened.
yeah. All in all, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I've This is my first time I've ever seen it. I enjoyed it, and
Yeah,
yeah,
this is my
it's
second time
it.
seeing it, and I think I like it better on a second viewing, if I'm being
Right.
honest. So
Okay, all right, yeah. You want to get into some fun facts?
I would love to.
All right, I'll start it off. During an interview with Michael Martin, wow, that's a weird way to spell Michael. Michael Martin on the radio program All Things Considered. Deny
NPR.
Guria, who plays Okoye, said that the language
Okoye.
spoken Okoye
Yeah.
said that the language spoken by Wakandans is a real language. It's called Xhosa, a South African language characterized by clicks and glottal stops. It's the same language that is native to Nelson Mandela. It's from the Cape region of South Africa, and Mr. John Connie, who plays T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, he's Kosa, Xosa, I don't know. And so they started and agreed to the language being the language of Wakanda in Captain America Civil War. So the guy that plays T'Chaka is actually from this place where they speak the language, and that's
I
kind of
love
how
that
they got.
choice too. It's a perfect choice. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
weird that they like speak English and then sometimes
Well, I mean,
I mean
they're not going
it's
to subtitle the whole
yeah,
fucking
well,
MCU
and have
movie.
all these actors learn this language. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's hard enough to fucking speak it. I can't
Yeah.
imagine a script where you're American and you're like, dude, I don't know what the fuck. Like, I need a vocal coach. I need like
Oh,
somebody.
I also think it's worth mentioning that Chadwick Boseman is amazing in this movie,
Oh,
by the
he's
way.
fantastic, dude.
Yeah. I couldn't
That's
imagine
he.
anyone being him.
No, no, yeah. It's we lost him too early. We didn't even
Yeah.
fucking talk about him. But yeah,
Yeah.
we lost him
That's
too
why I
early.
wanted to bring it up.
He's so good as he plays this role so well, and his that accent fire. I gotta
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
that accent is fire. He does such a good job.
Yeah, I was telling you yesterday, like I heard him in an interview
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy just has like a regular ass American accent."
He's just
That
normal.
threw me off. Like I didn't know. I thought that was like his actual accent.
That's
uh,
crazy.
here's
I mean,
here.
because we used to work with well, you probably still do. We used to work with a bunch of Africans, and that's
Yeah,
they do kind of talk like that. You know,
yeah,
they have the same kind of like glottal stops and stuff like that.
yeah,
So it's not like out there to think that the Chadwick Boseman is
yeah.
just like
I thought he was
from
like
Africa. You know?
yeah, I
Yeah,
thought he was like
yeah.
legit from Africa, but no. Here's a fun fact: Marvel Studios
Hmm.
president Kevin Feige says a Black Panther film has been in the works since Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In fact, they hinted at Wakanda in Iron Man 2 when Tony Stark is seen landing in front of a map of Africa with a pinpoint where Wakanda is.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That's a fun
That's a fun
fact.
fact. Uh, while in London promoting the film, Martin Freeman introduced his young son Joseph to his co-star Okoye, who the boy's favorite character in the film. According to Denai, the boy was so entranced by the experience he would not let go of her hand. Denai was deeply touched by how
Oh,
the film had so completely captured the imagination of one so young. That is
yeah.
cute. That is
That is,
such a moment.
that's the other like beautiful thing about this movie cuz I think it's worth mentioning like this is the first movie that isn't just like about a white dude, in the Marvel universe. Besides like maybe Guardians, but even Guardians, it's like Peter Quill. But like this
Yeah.
is the first movie that, is not
It,
about a white guy.
well, it highlights all of Africa. It really does. And
Yeah.
like even like the black parts of New York, you know?
Yeah.
So
In
it's
LA, yeah.
LA too, yeah. So it's really nice to for, young kids of color to have this kind of shit that we had when we were growing up, you know?
Yeah.
When it was like, oh, we wanted to be Peter Parker. We could see ourselves being Peter Parker. And now you got like, Miles Morales, you got fucking T'Challa, and it's great. It's so good.
Yeah, and
Um,
and the same can be said about like Shang-Chi and
Shang-Chi, yeah, that's
yeah.
another one that I was
So
thinking.
it's cool we're finally at a point that we're seeing these movies and it should have happened sooner. I
Yep.
really wish this movie came out in Phase 1. Uh honestly, it would
I
have made more sense if it came out in Phase 1, like so it's kind of too bad that never happened, but
yeah.
um sorry, go ahead.
You think it would have done as well? I don't think so. I don't think it would have done as well.
I think it might have.
I mean, if it came out with the same sort of maybe not as good CGI, but with the same story and everything, I think maybe it could have
Yeah.
because Phase one, we had Thor, and that was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so you
It would have been
know,
a different movie for sure, but that's
hmm
just, how time works. Um,
yeah.
Actor Wesley Snipes tried to get a Black Panther movie made in 1992. Despite having a completed script, the project never made it past the development phase. Man, that would have been wild.
Um,
He's Blade to me, damn it.
yeah. Well, now he's nothing. I don't think he's doing anything these days.
I saw him in
Um,
an interview, and they're like, "Hey, if they recast Blade, who do you think should play Blade?" And he said, "I'm still in pretty good shape."
good for him, man.
Yeah.
Good for
Uh,
him. That's hilarious.
um.
And why not? And why not? Old Man Blade would be kind of cool. Um, in
Th-
response to
Go ahead.
being in response to being asked what it felt like being one of the few non-black actors on set, in quotes, and sometimes the only non-black actor on set, Martin Freeman said, "You think, right? This is what black actors feel like all the time." Freeman and Andy Serkis were known for the token white guys on set since they also starred together in the Hobbit films. And it's true. I think they were like the only white guys in the entire film, which is kind of cool. Kind of out of place, I feel.
Yeah. This was I believe, I don't have this in front of me, but I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, this is the only MCU movie to be nominated for a um best movie at the Oscars.
Really
Yeah.
weird. I don't think. Yeah, it shouldn't have
Well,
won.
it
I don't
didn't
think
win.
so.
It
But
didn't win, and I don't think it should have won. But like, it makes sense that it was nominated mainly, and I do believe it's mainly because of the cultural impact that had. And there's no denying this movie had a huge cultural impact. I mean, this movie opened with $500 million opening weekend. Like that's massive, massive. This movie, yeah, it hit a nerve with a lot of people. So I mean, that can't be understated for sure.
yeah, yeah, people fucking love this movie. I remember when it came out and people were like, "This is the greatest fucking movie ever," and I didn't see it. Probably a race. It
Just
was probably a racially
racial,
biased sort of
racially motivated.
motivated. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't see this movie. It looked all right. I think it came out right when I was like kind of over it
Yeah.
because
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't see the last two that we saw. I think I stopped at like Doctor Strange, and then I'm like I'm kind of over it,
I
and
yeah.
then
No, I did too. I didn't see Guardians, Thor Ragnarok, or Black Panther. No, I did see Black Panther in theaters just because it was like a huge deal. So I did.
cute everybody. Yeah,
Yeah, but I didn't see Guardians 2 or Thor Ragnarok in theaters because after
me
Doctor
either.
Strange, I was like, I'm out of it. And then I watched those movies later, and I'm like, these are like my favorite MCU movies.
I don't
So
even think I saw Strange in theaters. I think I was out of it for a while, and then Infinity War came out, and everybody's like, "Here's the next big thing," and I'm like, "All right, I'll go see it." And that was great.
and it
So
was, it was the next
it
big thing.
was.
Yeah.
The Black Panther was created in July 1966, 2 months before founding of the Black Panther Party. Many people mistakenly assumed the name referred to the party, so the character was renamed the Black Leopard. However, neither the readers nor the creators cared for that title, and that didn't last long. However, the Black Leopard name gets a nod from T'Challa's battle paint in his inauguration fight. That's kind of cool. Probably a cool little thing if you read the comics back in the day. Little nod to them.
Here's a fun fact. Both Lupita Nyong'o and Letitia Wright starred in Danae Guerrera, who played Okoye. Her plays called Eclipsed. Right, and Letitia. Okay, so Lupita Nyong'o played Nakia, and
Uh-huh.
Letitia Wright played Shuri. Um, so they were all in Okoye's play, which is called Eclipse.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Wright starred in it on the West End, and Nwongo assumed her role when it came to Broadway. So they all
Huh.
have a connection through that play.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Also, I love Lupita Nyong'o in this movie and in every movie. She's fantastic. I
I
really,
don't
really.
remember who that is.
She was Nakia, the love interest.
Oh, the love interest. Yeah, she was pretty good.
I love her. I actually think someone has to assume the mantle of Black Panther, and I think it should be her. I think she's great.
I agree. If although if the sister wasn't such a
Anti-vax,
anti-masker,
anti-vax.
anti-vaxxer, I think she would be a good candidate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but
Uh,
actually, even rewatching this, because I actually used to feel that way, that like she'd be good as Black Panther, but actually rewatching it, it makes so much sense that Lupita Nyong'o would be the Black Panther because she's so like I do my own thing, which like it almost is like she kind of proves to us that she would be a good leader, and
mhm.
she's like a spy already, and she has the combat training and stuff.
What if they
Where
made what if they
she,
made Bucky the Black Panther?
no, dude, it should be fucking Agent Ross.
Oh God, dude, no way. No way. Um
But yeah, like Shuri is all about like technology. She would be cool as like the next Iron Man, though.
that yeah. 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 I mean, she kind of is, isn't she?
Yeah, just imagine her like, "What up, bitches?" and she's like flying around like Iron Man and shit. Like her and Pepper Potts are just like hanging out, like "What
Hanging
up?"
out. I could see
Yeah,
that. I could see that.
flying around, and Rhodey's there too, because he's always there just in the
'Cause he's in an
background,
Iron, yeah, he's in
where
an Iron Man suit.
wearing that old ass Iron Man suit, thinking he's important when he's not.
Hey man, that's a cool Iron Man suit. I like the little Gatling gun that's on
Yeah,
the rotary gun that's on there. To prepare for his role, Michael B. Jordan kept to himself while he was on set, reasoning that his character Killmonger is distant and in conflict with the other characters. He also was allowed to keep his Black Panther costume.
that's cool.
So that's cool.
That's cool as hell. I think Nick, unless you've got more.
Now they're kind of fizzling out right
Yeah,
now. So
mine too. None of them are really that interesting. Um, I think it's time to rank these bitches.
let's fucking rank them. Did I go last or did you go last?
I don't remember. If you could
What
bring
was
that
the
up
what
though.
was the last thing that we what was the last thing that we did?
Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok. I think I did it last. So you do it this time because you did
Yeah.
Guardians 2.
Okay. Yeah. You want to read it, or you want me to read it?
Oh, I'll read it. This is our Lonercast MCU rankings list. Just what we think as we watch. We kind of put them in a list wherever we think it belongs. At number one, we have a questionable Loki. We'll probably rewatch that at the end of this whole thing just to replace it because it was the first one that we watched. Number two, we got Iron Man. Number three, we have Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Number four, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number five, Thor Ragnarok. Six, Guardians of the Galaxy. Seven, WandaVision. Eight, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number nine, Eternals. Number 10, Captain America Civil War. 11, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. 12, Spider-Man Far From Home. 13, Spider-Man Homecoming. 14, Captain America and the First Avenger. 15, Ant-Man. 16, Doctor Strange. 17, Avengers. 18, Hawkeye. 19, Black Widow. 20, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You got to ruin it with that one, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I was on a flow there for a second. Number 21, Iron Man 3. 22, Avengers Age of Ultron. 23, Iron Man 2. 24, Incredible Hulk. 25, Thor the Dark World. 26, Thor. Where would you put it?
Okay.
We're somewhere in the middle. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it there, and then you
I'd
just give
put
me a
it
number.
at number one. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
You know what? I'm gonna put it right underneath Homecoming. I think that's where I'd put
Hmm.
it. Yeah. I think it's a little better than the first Avenger.
Hmm. Hmm. That's this. I didn't think this would be the one. I didn't think this would be the one where we disagree the most on.
Where did you want to put it?
I was thinking here
Oh.
or above Avengers. It's right there with Avengers. So like 18 or 19 of what I was thinking.
I mean, I'm happy to put it above Doctor Strange. Meet you in the middle.
That's fine with me. We'll middle it. We'll middle it for sure.
Yeah. I can see that. Like Anton America.
Ant
Anton America.
Man, Ant Man America.
No, yeah, like I do like I like Ant Man a lot, so like I'm okay with it being higher than Black Panther. Um, just to me, I think I'd rather watch Black Panther than Captain America: The First Avenger. Uh, but
I
yeah,
don't know,
I'm
man.
okay
I
with it.
think I just watched it, right? And I feel like I'd much rather watch Doctor Strange again. And that wasn't too long ago.
Interesting. I definitely
Yeah.
wouldn't want to watch that one again. But yeah,
And that's why we have this list so that we can be differing but also
no, it worked. It
agreeable.
worked out perfectly though. That perfectly in the middle of our two spots, and
Yeah,
that's
because I can agree with this. This is at this point of the list down here towards 15 onwards, it's kind of like it can kind of go anywhere. It's
yeah.
less important, you
I
know?
actually feel like everything under our like Spider-Man Homecoming is
Hmm.
like they're all fine.
I
you
think
know?
that's I think that's the point also is like Spider-Man Homecoming. That's kind of where it goes from great to like it's pretty good, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
totally.
yeah, because I'm looking at all these and I'm like, yeah, these are really good, and I would definitely watch these again.
Yeah, and also I think underneath Spider-Man Homecoming is where our lists really differ from each other, like our personal lists, but that it doesn't really matter that much when you get that low on the list.
Yeah, everybody only cares about this top part right here.
It's true.
Um, the top 10, and our top 10 is going to look, I mean, it's going to look the same. We only got four movies, but it's going to have some changing to do here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So,
At least two of those four movies are going to be
oh
on
yeah,
the
the other
top.
two, they're going to be way down here.
I think so. I think you're right.
The top and the bottoms of our lists are going
Yeah,
to be completely different. The middle's going to pretty much stay the same. So watch out for that next week. Maybe next week. We might
maybe.
actually skip next week
We might.
because we are going to see uh
Jackass.
Jackass
Yeah.
4? Is it
Jackass
Jackass
Forever.
4?
That's what it's called.
Forever. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we're gonna see Jackass 4 next weekend, and
But
so
who
we
knows?
might skip on this.
Maybe if we're feeling real spicy, we could do a double feature.
Oh man, two movies in one week? That's crazy. That we haven't done that since the Spider-Man thing.
Well, and I'm also seeing Moonfall on Thursday, so
Oh my goodness. What are we going to do? But yeah, check out our other episodes of this and our Loner Cast. Oh, that's where you're at. Check out our last week in games podcast as well. Subscribe, like, and keep your mom close,
don't eat her
but
though.
your dad closer.
Oh,
Have a
yeah.
good night.